Hello, this is Rocky Marciano. When I was heavyweight champion of the world, they called me the Brockton Blockbuster. You find out why.
Welcome to the Rocky Marciano Archives. Following is a written interview, narrated by myself, to give John a rest, with Rocky Marciano by the late Welsh journalist and writer John Summers. The interview took place in 1965 during one of Marciano's many visits to the UK in his retirement. To read the article itself, a link is included in the description. This interview gives a glimpse of how Rocky came into the sport, his thoughts on his career, and a changing attitude on the sport that made him a star. We hope you get something out of it. In the history of Welsh sports, it is nowhere adequately recognized that Wales has actually once produced a world heavyweight boxing champion. The story begins in wartime Wales, and with only a few weeks to go till D-Day, when Britain's southern ports were being readied to send Allied forces to invade the continent of Europe in the final stages of World War II. And Swansea, South Wales it was, that was one of the major boarding points for men and vehicles to be boarding their ships for the Normandy landings. One of these soldiers, as a chunkily built American GI, whose extraordinarily short legs carried him on a body that could have been that of a Roman gladiator. The Italian cafe and fish and chip shop community of South Wales knew him as a regular guest at their Sunday dinner tables. To them, he was Rocky Marciano. One night, Rocco got himself in a brawl in Swansea's Wynn Street in a bodega grill, and he was nearly arrested. His story was that on being provoked by a group of Australian soldiers with the words, "Yanks, you're overpaid, oversexed, and over here," he had knocked out 3 of them. Next thing, he got in another brawl in a South Wales Valley's miners' pub, swapping blows with a Welsh miner who he described as big as Tommy Farr. And this time the Snowdrops, the U.S. military police, were called in. They were known as Snowdrops because their U.S. soldier steel helmets were painted white. Rocco was threatened with court-martial. "But that'll make us one lorry driver short for D-Day," protested his U.S. commander at the GI camp in Morriston, near Swansea. A solution was hit upon. Rocco was ordered to take up amateur boxing in the clubs around Swansea. When Rocco went home again to Brockton, Massachusetts, when the war was over and back to his job as boot repairer, he changed his name to Rocky Marciano and decided to turn professional. I interviewed Rocky Marciano in the 60s, just before he was tragically killed in a plane crash. This is the article. Is boxing a noble art, fit to be taught in the nation's school gymnasiums? To find out, I advanced upon the greatest authority, the most dangerous unarmed man in the world, the most successful gladiator in history, 49 fights, 49 wins. I knocked on Mr. Rocky Marciano's bedroom door, and a voice you associate with misty New York dockside rasped, "Friend or foe?" Friend, I think. Inside there were blue whirls of cigar and cigarette smoke, a small crowd of American lounge suits, and a plump man in ragged trousers and short padding barefoot and swinging an arm as thick as your thigh. So I keep coming forward like this, left foot first, and I hit him a shot with the right, and I see his eyes roll up in his head, and I give him the left to finish him. "Rocky, you remind me of a skunk," somebody interrupting. I backed quickly for the door. The Rock's eyes widened below the stitch mark. One eye took 13 stitches, seeing him through just $1 million world title defense. A skunk? The way you fought, Rocky, like a skunk with a farm dog, and the dog keeps backing away because he knows what a punch that skunk packs in his tail. "Great to meet ya." The Rock comes for me. "Have a cup of coffee." The Rock opens his fist, and there's a cup and saucer hidden in it. The honesty in the round, hearty face is humiliating. I told the Rock we're talking of banning boxing in Britain. "Right. Well, it's got to come. It's got to. In 50, 25 years' time. No, less than that. It's got to come. As people get more civilized, they're going to ban boxing." I tell you it's got to. They will outlaw boxing. 100 years from now, we'll be like the gladiators. Something out of history. The sad, gentle eyes. There won't be any boxers anymore. Oh, boxing's just got to go. Less than 25 years, 10 years or less than that, maybe. In America, they let fighters go on till one of them's half dead. Joe Louis couldn't take a shot to the head anymore. He couldn't take a punch anywhere on the head anymore, even high on the head. People say to me, "Rocky, you made me scream watching you fight. You looked like you're going to get killed the way you keep coming forward, taking all those punches on the chin." The Rock shakes his head amusedly. But I never did. He tucks the bristling chin into the protective shoulders. I always had my chin down here. I never used to take any punches on the chin. Nobody can take punches on the chin. Only time I left myself wide open was when they put wintergreen in my water bucket to try and stop me winning the world championship, and my eyes stung, so I had to lift my chin just to see, and Walcott nailed me on the chin and nearly knocked me out. Crooks, wintergreen they put in his water bucket. Talk about divine justice, the officials handling me in that fight a while after they all dropped dead. The Rock massaged his chin quickly. Are there punch-drunk boxers in America? Not many, answered Charles. Oh, he's banged up. Oh, God, yes, he is. The Rock demonstrates with a press picture showing his victim's face like a chocolate marshmallow crushed between the Rock's fists. There is a famous story of the Rock's pugilistic encounter in a wartime brawl in a British pub. Right, that's true. But if I get in trouble like that now, I have to back away. Talk my way out of it. I never like to see people hurt. They've closed down that lovely Mumbles train, bewailed Rocky Marciano. Why, I used to ride on that into Swansea many a morning. I was stationed down there in Swansea, and we were billeted on Mumbles Pier, and we had to sleep on straw palliasses. When I interviewed Marciano, he was just being celebrated as the greatest and most successful world heavyweight champion of all time, and the one who had amassed the largest fortune from the ring ever. 49 ring battles and 49 wins. And it all started for me down there in Wales, he said. Wales has always had that great prize-fighting tradition, and from that, I took my inspiration. I used to get the Mumbles train into Swansea and get off at Rutland Street in the center of the town and make for a gym that a Welsh heavyweight called Jim Wilde used to run just by Swansea railway station. No, not Jimmy Wilde. That was a much lighter guy from an earlier time. I used to call in at Swansea Market and eat some of that hot laver bread that Welsh people cook out of seaweed, would anybody believe it? We don't have anything like that in the States. But now, having retired undefeated from the ring, Rocky had turned against the very idea of boxing, and he said he thought it ought to be banned. An interesting notion from the British public these very days, when a recent series of tragic ring deaths and serious injuries have been grabbing public attention. I was an old man when I won the world title. I was 28. The Rock's fingers play constantly with the poke of his English ratting cap on his head. Going bald has hurt The Rock more than anything could do in the ring. He wears the cap even indoors, and for public appearances, a well-made American hairpiece. Over here in Britain, boxing is so civilized anyway. They'd never let me become heavyweight champion of England. I bleed too easy. Sure, there are fights that not quite right, but not the World Heavy Championship. There's too many people like Norman Mailer, like you, watching us all the time. The eyes soften. I don't even go to the fights anymore. Don't like to see people getting hurt. I'm a bad fight referee, even. The Rock admits it sadly. I spoil the fights. Soon as one of the fellers starts bleeding a little even, I stop the fight. The crowd don't like it. You hear the crowd yelling, screaming, "Go on, let 'em fight. Beat 'em to death, go on." That's the really brutal part of the boxing. The crowd. Outside, I met a sports writer. You saw Marciano. What's he like? More animal than man, I suppose. And that was how John Summers ended the piece. More animal than man, but Rocky was so much more. Thank you for listening. We appreciate your valuable support.
If you like this content, then hit the subscribe button. To really support this channel, consider joining for just over $1 a month and unlock ad-free members-only content. Every member will play a key part in revealing the real Rocky.
I just enjoyed combat. I just enjoyed the sport that I had learned so well, and I had practiced so much that when the bell rang, I did a job. I could concentrate on the opponent.
It was a great, great career for me. I'm proud and very happy to talk about it. Sometimes I wonder why I was such an aggressive man in the ring.